everybody. Thank you for coming and joining me again. Just wanted to say thank you. Good morning. I'm saying good morning because it's morning for me, but whenever you might watch this, I hope you are doing well, and I'm glad you're here to join me. So today I actually had a few requests for this. So I know there's so many reviews online, and why watch a review by little old me who's just starting out, not gonna edit this, just having fun with makeup, but I do appreciate those who asked, so here we go. This is gonna be my review of the Anastasia Sultry palette. When I first saw this palette, I had no interest in it. I thought it was a pretty boring palette. I will show you the inside so you can know what I mean. It doesn't bend back like the others. I think it's because of the cover is like really thick and scratchy, like glittery. Beautiful for the holidays, but it doesn't go back like the others. So, but it was pretty, but I just didn't feel like it was a need. And we will talk about if I think that it's a need or not after using it. So I bought it back last Monday. I will probably be posting this tomorrow, which is a Monday. Today it's Sunday. And I had used it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today, Sunday. So I have quite a bit of thoughts on it. I really do feel like I have developed my thoughts. Yesterday, I wasn't quite comfortable. I really wanted to try it one more time, and I will talk about why I wanted to try it one more time before I did a video. And also today, there's going to be a slight wear test, so I will catch up with you guys again later just to show you something. So this is the palette. It is really beautiful. I really do enjoy this palette, but I have thoughts about if it's for everyone and things like that. So first I will say, bear with me. This is my first review type video. I'm kind of toying with how exactly I want to do a review. So I could be a little rough every once in a while, but I do appreciate your understanding. As with all Anastasia palettes, they come with this little brush here. My thoughts on this brush, it works really well. This is really scratchy, the fluffy end. This one is actually probably one of the least scratchy ones, but it really does lose hairs very easily. Like they're already, I don't think it's gonna focus, but they're already kind of flying everywhere. This side is a really nice brush. I really, really like this side. So even if you only use the one side, I do think this is a nice brush. I would like to see this be a little bit better, or them to try a different brush just to see how it goes. But I mean, that's always in there. So there's that. So now for the palette. What I'm going to do first is swatches, and I will talk about each individual shade, issues I may have had with it, thoughts on the texture as I go through. My arm is clean. There is absolutely no primer or anything on it. What I'm going to do is just do a circle with my finger, one swipe down, let you see how it is, and then I'm going to clean my hand off and then go with the next. So the first shade here is Fresh. The next one is Pearl, then Steampunk. And if you see, I'm just doing like a very small little, and then Rose Quartz. So those are those shades. All right. So Fresh, if you can even see, doesn't show up much. This is, it's a soft matte, but it's not super dusty. A bunch doesn't fly up, especially compared to normal Anastasia mattes, which you would think. They're very soft. They usually kick up a lot of dust. I find this one doesn't. It is very, very light, but it works really well for just buffing out the edges to make sure they're nice and smooth. Pearl is the next one. And it actually has much more of a pink shift in it whenever I'm using it. Now this shade I have used as an inner corner highlight, but I've also used it on my eye. This one, if I pick it up with a brush, it hardly picks up. It's flaky, it's very cracky almost, and it just, when I pick it up with a brush, it like barely dusts anything on there. However, if I put it on with my finger, it packs on beautifully, but I will get some fallout under my eyes, and I will talk about how I've had to deal with that, but I will get some fallout under my eyes, but it goes on very opaque and very beautifully. So the next shade is Steampunk. This is gorgeous, and I will show you the brush that I have used with that. It's this fluffy, it's a flat brush, but it's very fluffy and dense. This is a brush by Tarte, and I have not had to pack it on with my finger. I've used it a couple times and I've gone back over it with my finger, but it really wasn't necessary. That was one of only, I think, 2 or 3 shades in the whole palette that I didn't feel like I needed to go back with my finger. Another shade is this Rose Quartz. This is one of the other shades I do not have to use my finger. Again, I have gone back with my finger, but it's not necessary. It packs on beautifully. You can see that's the shade I'm using today. I did not use my finger at all to apply it. I used this brush to put it on, and it did a really, really good job. So those are those first 4 shades. All right, clean my fingers and on to the next. So Ember, Bloom, and Birch. All right, I'll just do those 3 and then we'll do the bottom. So there are those 3 shades. There, you can focus. So Ember was actually one of the shades that really caught my eye. It's this beautiful, like, I don't know, almost like an old metal green. It's really pretty. Bloom, I will be honest, well, I'll talk about Ember first. So Ember is a shade I do get fallout from when I put it on, and I do find I need to use my finger. It will go on with a brush, but it really doesn't do the color justice. When you use it with your finger, it does the color justice. It's really pretty. Bloom, now this shade is actually much scratchier and more densely packed than a lot of Anastasia mattes. Like, even if you see, it kicked up like nothing. And even when I use a fluffy brush, it doesn't kick up anything. That shade threw me off. When I first saw this, I liked it next to Ember. I liked those 2 together, but it really looked very odd to me. That is probably my most used shade in the whole palette, because I'll use the other shades and then I feel like it just needs something else. And so I put something else and it does such a beautiful job. And I added it today with the next shade I'll show you, Birch, and it just adds something to every look I've done when I've used it, whether it's up here a little higher, more in the crease, however I've added it. One thing that I love about it too, today it looks a little brighter because the shades I've used with it. However, I have also used it and then put dystopian or noir on top, and it looks more like a warm orangey shade instead of so bright. It's hard to explain it, but they mesh so well together that they can actually be transformative, not in a muddying type of way at all. They don't muddy, but they actually add a depth to each other that the mattes really work together cohesively. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but they really are very beautiful. But it does feel scratchier when you touch it, but it's really not. Like, it blends very beautifully. Like, you can see that was just one swipe down. It blends beautifully. So then here's Birch. And that one I find is more typical of your normal matte Anastasia matte shadow. It does kick up a little more. But I'm totally fine with mattes being a little powdery. As long as you tap off your brush, don't use too much. It works really, really well. And it's a really great to make it slightly warmer, or the other transition shade I will show you in a minute. All right. So, and both of these 2 I have on my eye today, and the rose quartz. So on to the next row, Cinder, which I am also wearing today, Twig, Teak, and Dystopian. Has anyone read the Lunar Chronicle books? Because the first thing I thought of when I saw this is Cinder is the name of a character and she's a cyborg. 2 of the name shades. Interesting. Just wanted to throw that out. Anyways, there are those. Really pretty. Now, Cinder I am also wearing today. This one, it doesn't show up very well with just a brush. You really, really need to use your finger. And it does create fallout. I ended up, after I did my eye, I added just a little bit with my finger afterwards, just to deepen it up here where I had blended them. And I did get some fallout again. I'll tell you what I did to start with, but I do find you get a little fallout with that one. It is a little flaky, and it does work best with your finger. Twig is a beautiful, more cool brown, almost like a gray brown transition color. It blends beautifully. It is more powdery. It is the most typical of the matte Anastasia shadows. It is powderier, but it is beautiful. It blends really, really well. Teak is another one. This one, you do not need your finger. You can just use a brush, and you are going to get that kind of impact just using a brush. It is stunning. It is such a beautiful shade. I love it. Dystopian, again, it feels a little drier than normal Anastasia shadows, but for the most part, I find it blends pretty well. It is a deeper shade. Every once in a while, I do need to buff a little bit extra because where I put it on, it kind of sticks, and sometimes I find there can be a bit more of a line than I'd like, but I did use it today and just a smidge to deepen out the crease, and you can tell it really did blend very well. All right, the last 3 shades, Cyborg, Slate, and Noir. All right, so there are those shades. The nicest thing about Cyborg, I do not usually use true silvers very often, but it's got like this beautiful like pink shift to it. It's like a pinky purple shift. It's beautiful. Again, I do find I can use a brush, but to get the best color payoff, I really need to use my finger. And then there is Slate, which again works really, really well, blends really nicely, and Noir, a really nice matte black. Now, when I first started using this, so I'll just show you again, I'm not the best at swatches. There's the swatches of all of them. When I first started using the palette, I was kind of like, it felt like there was really nice transition shades here and then really deep shades. And I kind of struggled with that because a lot of times I'll use actually 3 different mattes to deepen it. But I find if you go with a light hand, they, like I said before, they blend so nicely together, the mattes, that if you go lighter, it just ever so slightly deepens, or if you go heavier, you can like add a really defined color with it. So that's one thing I've really found. Again, it's hard to explain, but if you know what I mean, hopefully you know what I mean. But they really can, you don't have to go full on smoky. You can actually do something in between extremely soft and very smoky. And at first I was kind of thrown off and confused by that because it felt like there wasn't anything in between, but it really does. And shockingly, this beautiful bloom, which actually is a little more pink than it looks like in there, it does an amazing job of really just transforming that ever so slightly. It does really well. Also, I find the shimmers layer very beautiful on top of the mattes. And sometimes you can have an issue with that. They also layer very beautiful on top of each other. All the shimmers that I've done, I've usually done a darker here and then a lighter here. And in the middle, they lay together so seamlessly, whether I'm using my finger or a brush, doesn't matter. Again, most of the shades you really do need to use your finger to get the best color payoff though. And with with Pearl, I think to get pretty much any color payoff, I had to use my finger. Unless I was doing an inner corner highlight. If I used it as an inner corner highlight, I could use a little brush and put it in, but you're not trying to get the most opacity when you're doing that. So, the one thing I will say is it really, really does, there is a lot of fallout with the shimmers. Quite a few of the shimmers, I had a lot of fallout. So I have 2 recommendations. Either put your eyeshadow on first. So I would do the top of my eyes, then put the rest of my makeup, and then do the bottom. If I did that, I did really well, and I didn't have any fallout on my cheeks throughout the day. If I did my eyes first and did all of my makeup, or sorry, if I did all my makeup in my eyes second, I found I had sparkles here, and it was really hard because they stick so well. It was really hard to wipe them away. The other thing that I have done a couple of times is I have put a heavy coating of powder and baked while I did my top shadow. So if you don't know what baking is, I have a loose powder. This Maybelline Fit Me is what I usually use. I'll just put a little bit, I usually take a sponge, dip it in there, and then pack a very heavy a heavy coat of powder under here, and that catches the fallout. So then I wipe that away with a brush at the end, and when I wipe it away, I don't have fallout later. A couple other things I've noticed. Now today I am going to do a wear test. So this side is just primer. This side I set the primer with a powder. The first time I did that, I used this Too Faced Shadow Insurance, and I could really tell a difference in how vibrant the shades were, how well the glitter stuck, and my shadow at the end of the day. The one that was set, I lost some. The one that was not set, I didn't. It stayed beautiful. Another thing I have noticed though, because I wanted to try, the Urban Decay, this is the regular primer potion, the original. If I use this, this is a much stickier eyeshadow primer. The shadows worked much better. This one is a lot slippier. It's one of the issues I have with this primer. Sometimes it separates, like you really have to mix it up, and it's just a lot slippier. This one is a lot thicker and it's stickier. The shadows work much better with this one. So if you have a stickier primer, it's gonna work better. And if you don't set it. However, I did want to, today I used this again, and I wanted to set one eye and not set the other, just see if that stayed true throughout the day with the setting as well. So we will check in later tonight. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Does everybody need this palette? No. If you do a really smoky eye, then you will probably get a lot of use out of this. I am gonna get so much more use than I expected. These are shades that I reach for often. I love how well they blend, and it is actually much more versatile than it looks, because when you layer different shades on top of each other, they work really well and they just transform each other very nicely, which doesn't always happen. If you don't mind using your fingers, which I honestly don't mind putting shimmers on with my fingers, I do it quite often just because no matter what the shade is, it makes it a little more vibrant. So I do that often, so that doesn't bother me. And if you don't mind putting your eyeshadow on either first or baking underneath to wipe away the shimmer. So those are the things. For a person that's doing more natural looks every day, I think there's some other palettes out there for you. I am actually going to film an Anastasia kind of thoughts on all of their current available palettes. I won't do like the Prism from last year or anything, but I will do the ones that are currently available and just kind of compare and say what's for who and all of that. So if you want to see that, definitely look at that. But just my kind of thoughts right off the bat. If you do smokier looks, if you like just a little, like a more glam look, yes, you will absolutely love this. I know it doesn't look like it to start with, but it is beautiful. But if you do more natural everyday looks, I think there's other Anastasia palettes out for you. The formula is amazing. It is very true to Anastasia formula, what I would expect from them with my favorite palettes that they have. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. We will do a check-in later today. I put this on at 9:30 this morning, so we'll give it a good 7 hours, 8 hours, something like that, and we'll just see if there was fallout and how it did with the eye that was set with powder and the one that doesn't. And I hope you guys enjoyed this so far. Bye, I'll see you later. All right, hi guys. Welcome back, but you were just here. So it is 5:15 in the evening. So my eyeshadow has been on for almost 8 hours now. And I just wanted to give you a quick update and show you kind of what happened. So this is the eye I set with powder. This was not set. And I actually have fallout. Some of this is my highlighter, but I have fallout under both eyes. So it almost looks worse over here, the eye that wasn't set. Oddly enough, the wear seems really the same on both. They're really sticking very well. It's not creasing. I haven't lost any shadow or anything. I did notice I went out to run some errands around 1:30. This eye had fallout under it and this did not. And that was out in the sun. Like I could see it in the mirror in my car. But now that it's been 4 more hours since then, it actually seems like they're about the same. If not, this one's almost worse. I do have some glitters in my lashes, and that did irritate my eye for a little bit because I could feel like some fell into my lashes and kind of irritated it. I was able to get it out quick. It wasn't so much that it watered, but if you have really sensitive eyes, that's something to think about. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. What else would you like me to review? And again, keep an eye out because this week I want to do just my thoughts on some of the major Anastasia palettes you can get a hold of, especially if you have never used the brand, which palette might be for you. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again. Bye.